Hello, everybody. So a week ago on Thursday, I made a post on X offering to take a look at author sales pitches on social media and the reward for participating is that I'm going to pick a few that jump out at me and make me interested, which I will purchase with my own money like a real human. And after finishing reading them, I'm going to do both a subjective and objective review of those books that I pick. Now, what does that mean exactly? I'm going to go over that real quickly with you. Subjective will be a consumer-based review, which is me as a reader, how I enjoyed the book or didn't enjoy the book, depending on the situation, and my feelings about the elements of the story as they progress. I am an avid reader as well as writer myself. My objective review will be from a professional level as an editor and writing coach. That review will specifically get into the nitty-gritty of what worked and what didn't work on fundamental levels when it comes to writing skill and the ability to narratively, as I like to put it, entertain and enlighten. That might take me a little while. Sometimes I don't get a lot of time to read, but guaranteed it will happen, as is this video, which I said I would do. So without further ado, let's get started here. Quick shout out to Evely Music for that intro. It's really, really nice. Check him out if you get an opportunity. He makes a lot of really good tunes. Okay, so this is the post that I put up, and let's just scroll down into the first one and get started from there. So we're going to start with Bowen Greenwood. Might be precluded by conflict of interest, but here goes. No. Even if you were a client of mine at some point, you are never not included. You will never be excluded from anything that I do. It just means I already know what went wrong and what's good. We'll leave it at that. So, show more here. I'm going to read this out loud. Aliens invade and do exactly what we do in war. Are we the aliens or are they the aliens? Okay, exactly what we do in war, which means the aliens come down and do exactly what humans do. Got it. Decapitate the government. That's a hell of a first sentence. The once mighty American war machine stumbles leaderless through a nightmare they never imagined. Total war on their soil. They're losing more than just battles. They're losing hope. For the republic to rise from the ashes, it needs a leader elected the American way. Miri Wren is the last one left, and the only man who can help her is the one she's not ready to see again. Together, they must evade an alien army, endure a post-apocalyptic landscape, and ignite a people ready to give up. Tom Clancy meets Independence Day in The Last Senator. All right, so strong opening. Aliens invade and do exactly what we do in war, decapitate the government. I mean, that tells you exactly what happened, and it punches with aliens invade. It stumbles on wordiness after that. I mean, the once mighty American war machine is really good. Stumbles leaderless through a nightmare they never imagined. Starting to get a little wordy. Total war on their own soil is good. They're losing more than just battles. They're losing hope. Tells you everything you need to know right in that first paragraph. For the republic to rise from the ashes, it needs a leader elected the American way. I could have gone without the rise from the ashes part. It feels like it draws the sentence out a little too much. I do like the elected the American way. I mean, it goes back to the point that it's following our patriotic system of government. That's what I mean by it's kind of falling into wordiness a little bit. Miri Wren is the last one left, and the only man who can help her is the one she's not ready to see again. Where, again, wordy, starting to lose interest at that point. Off the top of my head, I can't really say how I could make that sentence better. I mean, it might take me a couple of hours of thinking about it. I mean, I would have maybe split it into two sentences. You know, Miri Wren is the last one left. The only man who can help her is maybe like is the last man she wanted to see, or something a little more punchy than the one she's not ready to see again. It's a little too soft. Together they must evade an alien army, endure a post-apocalyptic landscape, and ignite a people ready to give up. Ignite, not a word that fits there. I would maybe suggest rally or something, a stronger, more positive word. Ignite is just setting something on fire. I know it's often used as a alliterative term for, you know, kindling the fires of hope. It's just in this sentence, and ignite a people ready to give up, it sounds a little bit more like just setting them on fire than it would. It doesn't contrast appropriately with the loss of hope. Tom Clancy meets Independence Day in the Last Senator. I've talked about this before. I'm okay with it at the back end of the blurb, but I think that identifying things that your book is like that are other things in your genres is a bad sales pitch. And I've read about it a little bit, trying to find a good way to create an example for this. But it really boils down to, are you going to take a chance on this book from a writer you don't know? Or can I just remind you of stuff that you really like that you can just go nostalgia read and watch? Like, I would immediately, I'm like, oh yeah, I have Independence Day. I can go watch that. I don't think it's a smart sales strategy to point out other things that people can do when you want them to buy your book and experience your story. There are arguments for and against it. Feel free to leave them in the comments if you want. Have a conversation about them, figure it out for yourself. Just a personal statement from me. I don't think the X meets Y is a good idea. That cover is awesome. It's very evocative with the colors, the font, the overlay of the tattered flag. My only kibitz with the cover is that it's a bunch of random people and not the actual last senator that the story is about. But it works. Like, on initial look, I'm like, ooh, this is awesome, or badass, as I might put it. So nice job, Bowen. Let's move on to entry number 2. We got a lot of these, so I'm going to try not to take up everybody's time. I got 33 of them, which is amazing. Appreciate you all. Okay, so next one from, I hope I'm saying this right, Scrivener. It's at Sarah's Sky. So I apologize if I bastardize that name. So let's get into this. This is Arrival, book 1 of the Wicked World series, a dark fantasy series that follows the downward spiral of the villain until he destroys the world. And then she says it's not out yet. My apologies, as it probably won't be for another year. If this did pique your interest, I like to test things though, and this is a fun exercise, so please pardon me. No worries. Obviously I can't buy that to review it, so we'll get there when it does arrive. But your pitch, this is Arrival. So if I'm looking at this the way I'm looking at it, I'm only seeing half the book cover at the moment. So pointing out the book cover as part of your sales pitch is not really a good idea on a format where, I can kind of get the whole cover if I go like this, but I lose the post. Formatting for anything is very important, because your first impression is the lasting impression that anything gets. So it's going to be very difficult for someone to look at both the cover and read your blurb on social media. Now, if this was on a sales page on, say, like Amazon, it probably would be fine. But for this format specifically, doesn't work very well. But book 1 of the Wicked World series, a dark fantasy series that follows the downward spiral of the villain until he destroys the world. I mean, repetition, Wicked World series, a dark fantasy series that it catches people's attention. Like, I'm sure anybody who's watching this went, ooh, it said series twice in a row. And then the brief explanation that follows the downward spiral of the villain until he destroys the world. It's not giving me much. So key points of sales are trust and interest. First, your pitch has to engender trust. And second, it has to pique interest. One of the ways that we pique interest the most is through storytelling and connectivity with another being. People like doing what other people do. People like experiencing what other people experience. That's why we have social media. So the only information that we're being given about this is that the villain is coming undone and he takes the world with him by the end. It doesn't inspire me to want to read it. I would have liked to have heard a little bit more about this villain that could connect me to it so that I'm interested in why this person has fallen and what happens leading up to their eventual destruction of that world. So that would be my advice going forward, is expand a little bit. We writers, especially new indie writers, we want to hide things. We want to keep the twist close. We want to, let the reader experience an quote unquote unbiased approach to whatever we've written. And that means that we like to keep secrets. Sales is not about keeping secrets. Sales is about trust. So it requires an open honesty to a point, true, but an open honesty that connects a person with whatever it is that you're trying to sell them to them, whether it be entertainment or utility as like a service. So I need more from this in order to really feel like I'd be interested in looking at this book. Now, the cover, vibrant, love the gold leafing. The black with white border lettering is a little, it washes out a little bit because the letters are so packed close together. But it's not bad at all. I mean, I like the greens. That gives it sort of a stony backdrop and the ornateness. But at the same time, cover also doesn't tell me anything about the book. So I can't say, ooh, I want to know about what's going on here, because it's literally like a coin, maybe. It's hard to say. All right. Next one from David Elliott. The fix is in. A diplomatic mission gone wrong. A U.S. senator disappears. Oh, got a theme going here. A cover-up to bury it all. Frank Xavier risks it all in a one-man rescue operation, but he soon learns the threat he faces on the streets of Kabul is nothing compared to his own government. Okay. So the title of the book tells us exactly what we need to know. The fix is in. No matter what you do, these things are going to happen regardless. A diplomatic mission gone wrong. Great first sentence. A U.S. senator disappears. Also a really good follow-up sentence. Tells you the two things you need to know most. A cover-up to bury it all. That's 3. Not bad. But then Frank Xavier risks it all in a one-man rescue operation. Like, risks what? I don't know who Frank Xavier is. My assumption is that he risks his life because it's a rescue operation and he's doing it all by himself. But why do I care about him risking it all? I don't know him yet. So I would have benefited from learning a little bit more about Frank, who he is. Why should I care about him? Then I'll be concerned about him risking it all in this rescue operation. And that he soon learns the threat he faces on the streets of Kabul is nothing compared to his own government. The twist there is predicated on the viewer caring about Frank Xavier. But if I don't know Frank Xavier, I don't care. Who is he? Doesn't tell me who he is. Is he a good man? Is he a bad man? Is he a morally gray man? Is he, I assume, a special operator of some kind? Does he have a family? Is he good to his family? I don't know. All of these, like, you imagine when you're walking around your neighborhood, you're going to see a ton of people, but you're not going to know who they are or care about them until you get to know them. So again, it's hard to get a sale off of no information. I have no interest because I don't have any trust. Now, the cover is cool. I'm not a fan of the upper half of it being all gray, but I get the aesthetic choice because he sort of uses um what is that term? I forget the term, but it basically washes everything in like yellows and oranges. Um, one man, big weapon, big plane. Can't complain about that. Not sure about this little box that says the fix files. I mean, the fix is in is the title of the book. Maybe the fix files is the name of the series. I don't get it, why it's just kind of like stamped on there. And the fix files doesn't do anything for me as far as a series name. Moving on to S.L. Chalmers, or Chalmers, I hope. Right, here we go. A post-World War II Raymond Chandler PI blended with pre-John Le Carre, I think I said that right, Cold War spies. In post-war Tulsa, prostitute murders, blackmailer murders, and a murky communist conspiracy embroil a cynical PI in noir plots and Cold War intrigues. His investigation entwines with his ruined baseball career, his World War II code-breaking service in Alaska, and his obsession with the suspicious death there. And that is Scott's Tulsa. If it didn't start with an explanation of the themes that you're going for, I actually probably would like this more. So if I erase that first sentence out of my brain and just experience in post-war Tulsa, prostitute murders, blackmailer murders, and a murky communist conspiracy embroil a cynical PI in noir plots and Cold War intrigues. His investigation entwines with his ruined baseball career, his World War II code-breaking service in Alaska, and his obsession with the suspicious death there. It's better in my opinion. And again, I say, why would you want to draw attention to something else that somebody can read or experience when you're trying to sell them your product? It's not a comparison because they don't know you and they can't say that they trust you yet to bring awesome entertainment to them. Whereas if they're Raymond Chandler fans, they can just go read Raymond Chandler books they've forgotten about or really enjoy. But again, we'll not harp on that too much longer. In post-war Tulsa, prostitute murders, blackmailer murders, and a murky communist conspiracy embroil a cynical PI in noir plots and Cold War intrigues. A really long sentence, and it could be it could live without the double murders part there. You could just say, murders in the seedy underbelly, or something akin to that instead of doubling up on it. It would make the sentence a bit shorter. In post-war Tulsa, murders in the seedy underbelly and a murky communist conspiracy embroil a cynical PI in noir plots and Cold War intrigues. Shortens it up, tightens it up a little bit, and it's good, and it has all the things in the sales pitch that I like. It's missing the call to action. A lot of them do these days, and that's okay. But in this case, murder mystery stories really benefit from the hook. Like I don't see the hook in this. His investigation entwines with his ruined baseball career. Okay, you're trying to insinuate a little bit of something personal to get me interested in this character, but I don't have a name for him. I assume his name is Scott based on the title of the book, but I can't really, like, I don't know. I don't have a name for him. He's that guy who used to play baseball, I guess, and was a World War II code breaker. And his obsession with a suspicious death in Alaska. You have all the elements. I just think the delivery needs a bit more work. Not yet there to actually say, I want to buy this and find out what happens. And that's because it's missing the hook. All right. From Secret Corin or Stacy, or possibly all three. A refugee woman becomes the reluctant protector of a small Wyoming town in a war between the locals and a corrupt group of U.S. Marshals. Tomb Raider and Guy Ritchie's Sherlock Holmes. Points. Historical fiction fantasy, political drama, samurai cowgirl, no smut, just vengeance. Then it says G.W. Buchanan has made millions causing problems and selling the solution to the highest bidder. Unfortunately for him, his latest scheme, Manifest Destiny, places him directly in the crosshairs of Bette Donovan. Bette Donovan and the Battle for Wyoming, an American folktale by S.R. Stacy. Okay. So these tags say, not going to say that on camera, female protagonist, but you get the idea. Action and adventure in the Wild West, coming of age, chosen family, swords, guns, and underdogs, and a reluctant hero. Okay. I actually like the first sentence a lot. It tells you exactly what you need to know. So, refugee woman becomes the reluctant protector of a small Wyoming town in a war between the locals and a corrupt group of U.S. Marshals. It's concise, and it hits. That's a great synopsis. Then the Tomb Raider x Guy Ritchie's Sherlock Holmes thing, again, I'll just go watch Sherlock Holmes for an hour and a half. I mean, anytime anybody brings up Sherlock Holmes, somebody's inevitably going to go look back at the long bibliographic lineage of Sherlock Holmes and probably not pay attention to your book. So it's better to just avoid that. The bullet points are interesting. I like the idea behind them. It's definitely a great way to get across your points. Historical fiction fantasy, cool. Political drama, yeah, I'm okay with it. Samurai cowgirl, now I'm curious and a little surprised. And no smut, just vengeance. Now, the no smut thing, I think, is a direct pushback against the romantasy genre. It's a negative. And I'm not saying that because I like smut books. I actually don't like smut books. I write things that can be considered smut books, but I'm not a fan of it. If it's a gig and they're paying me to do it, I might do it. Depends on what the story is. But to put a negative, you're pigeonholing your audience. If you say my book doesn't contain this thing that everybody's aware of, and you're saying this book is not for you. And if that's your goal, cool. I understand. I can say I write stories and all of my stories have some element of faith, so atheists probably won't enjoy that, and I'm okay with it. So if you're okay with alienating the people who like that sort of thing, then you can say my book has no smut in it. But it doesn't need to be said unless your direct audience target is people who are vocally against whatever it is. Romantasy readers could really enjoy this book, but they're not going to buy it because it's pointing out the thing that they love and kind of casting it in a negative light. So just keep that in mind. Yes, it should be cast in a negative light, but from a sales standpoint, you never want to limit your audience by alienating another group of people. All right, so the little paragraph, G.W. Buchanan has made millions causing problems and selling the solution to the highest bidder. Me reading that, I thought for a moment that was the woman's name. The just initial impression of that sentence, I thought, wait a minute, I thought she was the good guy. But then I realized that the paragraph was a reversal. Unfortunately for him, his latest scheme, Manifest Destiny, places him directly in the crosshairs of Bette Donovan. If that was all by itself and I didn't have the stuff at the top and the bullet points, my first question is, who the heck is Bette Donovan? And why should I care? But because I have those things, I'm like, okay, maybe Bette Donovan's the samurai cowgirl. And all right, then. Together, it all works. But be careful with that. Because with scrolling on social media, if somebody's not paying attention, like you see on my page there, I'm going to get most of the cover. Samurai cowgirl, no smut, just vengeance. What the bad guy's doing, and some lady is going to go after him. I guess she's the samurai cowgirl. When you're theming a sales pitch, you need to make sure that your reader can easily comprehend. It needs to be simplified. It does not need to be complicated. Complicated does not make people interested. Good questions make people interested. Leading positions make people interested. But the breadcrumbs that you leave are what make people interested. Why do I care about Bette Donovan going after G.W. Buchanan? He's made millions causing problems and selling the solution to the highest bidder. So what? Everybody does it. If that paragraph was sort of reframed as G.W. Buchanan, it has made millions preying on a small Wyoming townsfolk, taking their money away by manipulating them into buying into his pyramid scheme. Then I'm like, okay, that dude's an asshole. Now I want to see him get his comeuppance. And then you tell me who the heck Bette Donovan is and why she can give him that comeuppance, and I'm hooked. Like, what is it about her that makes her the perfect woman for the job? Now I'm interested. And that gets done a little bit in the cover page here. She's a BAMF, so okay. I like American folktales, so this one I am going to bookmark because, in spite of the sales pitch being a bit disjointed and kind of all over the place, I'm intrigued by the concept. So we have our first official, I'm buying this to check out. Congratulations, SR Stacy, even though it says secret Corin Stacy. So congratulations, SR Stacy. All right, moving on. Saiyan Guard. Well, thank you. An excellent pitch for engagement, and it worked. Appreciate that. All right. The World Ender. As nanites chew through the brain of a Cherokee inventor, he's forced to relive the end of the world and the loss of his daughter. The world had 15 years to prepare for an asteroid. Only Gray Cloud's invention could save them. If only he hadn't discovered the truth. Okay. You caught me with as nanites chew through the brain of, and then I got confused by Cherokee inventor. Obviously, it means a person who invents things who is of Cherokee lineage, blood, genetics, what have you. But the way the sentence plays out, it's jarring. As nanites chew through the brain of a Cherokee inventor. Like, okay. He's forced to relive the end of the world and the loss of his daughter. Well, if the world ended, wouldn't he be dead? You can't exist without the world. So how is he reliving the end of the world? I assume you mean the end of society, or say an apocalypse. But when you say the end of the world, our brains immediately think Earth vaporized. So there's a conflict in there for the normal consumer type. Not saying it's not something that like the nerdcore types would get. I'm just saying the average person who might be interested in checking the story out, the average consumer of products, is going to have these questions. The world had 15 years to prepare for an asteroid. Right. Only Gray Cloud's invention could save them. If only he hadn't discovered the truth. Again, I'm a little confused. The world had 15 years to prepare for an asteroid, and only Gray Cloud's invention could save them. So no one in the billions of people but this one Cherokee inventor with nanites in his brain could possibly have stopped this. And whatever he learned made him not want to, I assume. I mean, in one regard, it's kind of working because I have so many questions. But at the same time, it's like, other than knowing that Gray Cloud had a daughter and he lost her by not saving the world, I'm kind of not happy with the guy. I'm a dad. Like, yeah, I'll damn the rest of the planet to save my kid. So I don't feel any connection with him. I'm actually a little repulsed. At least the way that it's playing out in how you presented it. How could we make it more clear for the average consumer? The world had 15 years to prepare for an asteroid. Only Gray Cloud's invention could have saved them. Ooh, relive the end of the world and the loss of his daughter. Before nanites chew through his brain. I mean, it's not bad. It's just kind of off the top of my head. These things take a little bit more than like 60 seconds to work out really well. But yeah, reordering this information would actually present the character in a slightly more appealing light. But at the same time, like, it's given me a little bit of oh gosh, what was that dude's name? The I Am Become Death guy. Name's blowing out of my brain at the moment. I apologize. I'll remember it eventually. Had a big movie recently. But yeah, I think this is supposed to be a darker story. It's just, it doesn't give me enough to make me want to know what Gray Cloud's going through. But the only thing that I'm really hooked on is the truth of why he wouldn't save the world and his kid. So I'm going to put that as a maybe. I might come back to this later. We'll see. Thanks for sharing, Noah. Okay, I'm Anthony Harris. You've already read the first installment in the series, Daniel, so now's the time to find out what happens next. I mean, you targeted your pitch directly at me, so appreciate it. It's an ego boost. But we're going to avoid that for the objective analysis here. Set a little over a year after the events in the name of magic. Oh, I'm going to butcher this name. Shaoling, I think, and her crew find themselves in the middle of an impossibility. The return of the deadly voids after magic had been lost to their world. Join the group as they travel from the John Empire to the Great Northern Steppes as they try to search out ancient demons, avert a civil war, and fight for their lives against dark forces. All right, so being familiar with the series from reading the first book, The Name of Magic, yes, I can say that this is worth checking out and seeing what goes on. But from a standalone sales pitch category, you're aiming it at me, Mr. Harris, and I was looking for your open, like, catch audience sales pitch. So looking at it from a catch audience sales pitch, if they haven't read the first book, they don't know the character or the crew, so they're not getting anything to connect themselves with other than romp through a fantasy Asian environment. The stakes are there, the return of the deadly voids, and obviously ancient demons, a potential civil war, and dark forces, although ancient demons would be dark forces, so you're kind of repeating yourself. If I were trying to pitch this to an open audience and not somebody that may already be familiar with the stories, I would want to know more about the characters. Again, I would want to know who these people are, what they did, perhaps what they did in the first book would even be a great hook to bring them closer to understanding the characters that are in the story so that they can feel like they're running alongside them. When you're doing fantasy adventures, the whole point of enjoyment is that you're imagining yourself running and fighting alongside the characters in the stories. I cannot stress that enough. It's especially easy with fantasy adventures. You want to entice a potential reader to go, I like this person. I'm intrigued by this person. I want to do the things that they're doing alongside them. because that's what experiencing a fantasy story is. So give that to your potential readers. Now, this is not to say that I'm not going to read this book, because obviously I read the first one and I actually liked it quite a bit. So I'm more than likely going to check out The Death of Magic, the Heavenly Mages book too. I can't say for sure I'm going to do that based off of the sales pitch, so I can't really say that's going to be the one of my picks, but I will probably read it sometime in the near future. All right, moving on. J.S. Webster, someone I know. Ooh, that's cool. The dancing phone is just distracting me. Okay, let's do this. What would you do if the world you knew crumbled overnight? God, woo, that's a question. In Requiem of Old Glory, the gripping first book of the Chronicles of Old Glory by J.S. Webster, America faces its darkest hour. On June 5th, 2015, terrorists unleash a viral weapon that tears through 4 U.S. cities, plunging the nation into chaos. But from the ashes, heroes rise, ordinary people driven by faith, hope, and hardcore determination. This isn't just another post-apocalyptic tale. It's a heart-pounding chronicle of unity and resilience, packed with unforgettable characters and twists that'll keep you on the edge of your seat. Perfect for fans of gritty survival stories with a touch of humanity. Okay, so that opening question, fantastic. What would you do if the world you knew crumbled overnight? I mean, that puts all kinds of things in my head. I hope it does to you like it does for me, because I start thinking, ooh, okay, I woke up one morning and everything that I knew to be sure was gone. What would I do? I might get myself all dressed for survival, strap as many weapons to myself as I possibly can, and get ready. I don't know. It's hard to say, but it sets me up for a sensation of bad things are going to happen, and my blood's starting to pump. In Requiem of Old Glory, the gripping first book of the Chronicles of Old Glory by J.S. Webster, America faces its darkest hour. I mean, on the one hand, I would have probably traded the sentence out for maybe a character. Like, follow that question with, hey, this is what this guy did. You interested in trying to survive with him? Or this girl did? You can go either way. On June 5th, 2015, terrorists unleash a viral weapon that tears through 4 U.S. cities, plunging the nation into chaos. There we go. Pure, clear stakes on a concise theme. But from the ashes, heroes rise. Ordinary people driven by faith, hope, and hardcore determination. Okay. Actually, that works really well. Ordinary people driven by faith, hope, and hardcore determination rise to the occasion of the world falling into chaos and responding to the unleash of a viral weapon. So you don't really need to know the specific who's. So maybe, really, I could even say just get rid of that whole in Requiem of Old Glory start. What would you do if the world you knew crumbled overnight? On June 5th, 2015, terrorists unleash a viral weapon that tears through 4 U.S. cities, plunging the nation into chaos. But from the ashes, heroes rise. Ordinary people driven by faith, hope, and hardcore determination. That sounds awesome to me. Didn't even need that sentence about the title, the series title. didn't even really need America Faces its Darkest Hour. It's already kind of baked into that. So you went a little above and beyond here, John. Interesting. This isn't just another post-apocalyptic tale. It's a heart-pounding chronicle of unity and resilience, packed with unforgettable characters and twists that'll keep you on the edge of your seat. Perfect for fans of gritty survival stories with a touch of humanity. So that second paragraph is like all buzzwords: heart-pounding, unity and resilience, unforgettable characters, twists, edge of your seat, gritty survival, touch of humanity. That's all buzzwords. It works. It makes for a very interesting story. I'm kind of good with it. This is one of the better ones that we've looked at so far. And it's specifically because it tells you what's happening. It tells you what kind of people you'll be learning about. And what's great about that is, instead of setting up a hero, a main character, it's just saying, yeah, the people down the street from where you live, the ordinary people, they're the heroes. It's pretty cool. And yeah, animated video for a cover reveal and whatnot with the dancing cell phone was a nice touch. It's interesting. I am going to bookmark that one. Dancing phone. I could just sit here and watch the dancing phone for a while. Like, the images behind it are interesting. They appear to be themed towards the content of the book, so I'm cool with that. Having a couple of testimonials at the top, also really interesting. Yeah, great job. All right, let's not get too distracted by the dancing cell phone. I want to get through this as quickly as possible. All right, Ellie J, the sarcastic author. Packed with twists, laced with drama, and sprinkled with sarcasm, Secrets of the Volkovs is a 5-star read. It's a bold statement. This book is nonstop action. You'll find yourself having to catch your breath. It's a crime thriller with hints of sarcasm. Okay. The cover, Secrets of the Volkovs, the guy with a hood on them, in a struggling city, a family hide a dark secret. All right, the red is evocative. I mean, it's got some cool mystery elements baked into the cover design. I don't see a 5-star rating on this part, where Amazon exists. So I'm a little put off by the bold author statement of this book is 5 stars. Like, there's a difference between confidence and arrogance, and plainly stating that you know your story is a 5-star story borders on arrogance, and arrogance is off-putting. The packed with twists, laced with drama, and sprinkled with sarcasm. Okay, but I don't know what it's really about, other than a family hiding a secret. And the family are probably called the Volkovs. And it's a crime thriller. And you've mentioned sarcasm twice. So I assume the story is told in a sarcastic narrative. The question is why? What about that is meant to make me want to read it? Because you say it's packed with twists, prove it. You say it's laced with drama, prove it. maybe write the sales pitch from a sarcastic narrative perspective, unless the arrogance is meant to be the sarcasm. I'm not sure. When it comes to selling something, you need to know what your goal is, and how to achieve that goal comes from, like I said, trust and connection, intention, and knowing who it is that you're trying to sell to. So if you're trying to sell to people who like crime thrillers, not telling them what the mystery is not a good idea. That's what they're there for. They want to know the mystery. They want to know the crimes that are happening. They want to know the tension and the stakes. If it's written with sarcasm, let them experience that on their own and just sort of be like, "Oh yeah, this is written in a really interesting way. It's dry. It's awesome." It's not. It doesn't need to be a selling point. The selling point should be the events and the people themselves. Like, give me a character or two, or talk a little bit about the whole family. Are they a bunch of degenerate, Russians, I assume, or some sort of, Russia area? Uh, Next up is Matthew Krell. I hope I spelled that right. That is cool. What is this? Some sort of fantasy polka dog. That's neat. All right. Twin Suns Burning is ostensibly about a planet of immortal space elves who lost their son and the girl slave who befriends Anubis in her quest to find her missing aunt. What it's actually about is the cosmic symbols that define reality. I'm a Protestant monk who fell in love with planet Narnia. My model is Lewis. It is neither Tolkien or anti-Tolkien or anti-Tolkien. This is a story about the meaning of death. It is a story about the Kappa element. Above all, it's about what happens when the gods descend to Earth. Also, I don't write with AI, and my books aren't filled with YA smut, so homeschool parents, you'll like this one. All right. Has that ever worked for people? So you imagine if you're in Costco on, I call it tryout day, which is where they have all the people going free samples of various things set up on their little metal stands everywhere. So imagine you're walking through Costco and the free sample person with the fake hamburger chunk on a toothpick looks at you and goes, "This is a burger," but it's actually not a burger. It's made out of plant stuff. I'm a vegetarian and I like plant stuff. This is plant stuff, but it's good for you and it kind of doesn't taste like a burger, but you can pretend. Most importantly, it's vegan. Would you want to eat that, or more importantly buy it? Would you find that a little off-putting as a sales pitch? That's what I'm experiencing from this post. Like, okay, planet of immortal space elves, neat. They lost their son. Those are stakes. A slave girl who befriended a god, I assume. And why is the Egyptian god of death involved in a planet of immortal space elves? They're immortal. They don't die. So now I'm confused. And the slave girl wants to save her aunt. What it's about is the cosmic symbols that define reality. I assume your audience are big philosophy thinkers, so okay, cool. I can get behind that, but the general consumer is going to be like, what does that mean? The rest of it is just you're selling yourself instead. And while I understand modern society makes everybody think that they have to be a product in order to sell a product, I fundamentally disagree with that. So on a personal level, it doesn't work for me. Might work for other people though, so I get it. It's all good. Cool dog though. Possibly Anubis. Oh, we have a video. Let's hopefully the audio works on this video. Let's check out this video from Ian.
Remember back in 2026 when that whole AI debate was taken over and people said it's going to control society? Well, we went forward with it. It's now the year 2052, and the vast majority of us have AI implants right back here in the back of our brainstem. And sure enough, we've ended wars, we've cured horrible diseases, we've explored space in ways we've never even really dreamed of. Is it social control? Everything seems so smoothed over now, right? Well, that's what I talk about here in the Keys Protocol. It's an action thriller that I wrote. It's available on Amazon. It asks this question of, with all the voices in our heads competing for attention, how do you know which one is actually true and which one you should listen to?
Ooh,
And I wrote it especially
good
because
question.
most sci-fi action thrillers are either secular or pagan, right? They don't actually talk about the Holy Spirit at all. And I wanted to include that in there. So there's an interesting set of plot twists. The Keys Protocol by Ian Overton. I hope you read it. Hope you like it. If you do, leave a review. Thanks.
All right. That is a unique bit of advertising. You know, it's creating a sense of one-on-one. Looks like Ian is talking to you, the individual, instead of a group. And he just poses a question and explains that his story investigates that question. That actually works for me on a subjective level. I'm a Catholic and I love philosophy. So I think I'm going to pick that up and give it a try. And you guys can get, video started over again. You guys can get an in-depth understanding of what the story is about once I go through it and read and review it. Unique way of selling, Ian. I mean, does the thing. You get a little sense of trust by getting to listen to him, and you get his intention from it, and it leaves you with a question that the story answers. Not bad at all. Very cool. Okay. Darren Hanshaw. In a world full of unknown terrors, you need an investigator like Ethelgard and an engineer like Actaeon, who will never give up until they find the truth. MacGyver meets Sherlock Holmes in the Sterling Sci-Fi Mystery Collection. Artifacts and Enigmas, Mysteries from Redemption. Anytime anybody mentions Sherlock Holmes, I just start thinking about reading the Sherlock Holmes stories. So it kind of detracts from the objective of selling a tale. I mean, you could have just said something more about what kind of mysteries would be in this sci-fi mystery collection, and I would have been sold on it from there. And if I read it and go, he's channeling Sherlock Holmes here, that becomes something cool for me as opposed to something that you're trying to put in my head from day one. I do like MacGyver too. That is a maybe. There's not enough there to really hook me and sell me, but there's just enough there for me to consider it. Not bad. Dan Neo. In a reality filtered by power, truth becomes rebellion. Dante, a mere human, awakens with amnesia in a future ruled by beings engineered for survival. His mind and body hold secrets capable of changing the course of a continental war. Dark Neology, Dante's Gray Pages. It's not bad at all. I say that a lot, apparently, so I'm going to find a new way to say that going forward. Truth becomes rebellion is a very compelling statement. And the question, the unspoken question, is what secrets does Dante's amnesiac ass hold? That's good. Short, sweet, kind of elegant. I am interested. All right. The Earth Mystery News. This is Time Stopper. This time, read the book before it becomes a movie. Claude Limburger could join the ranks of Tolkien, Moorcock, and Le Guin as one of fantasy's greatest. Peter Langevin, Magical Blend Magazine. I don't know what's in the story. Apparently, this Peter Langevin person thinks very highly of Claude Limburger. But what's the story about? What is it? I don't know. And I imagine neither do you. The person watching this video, not Claude. I assume Claude knows what his story is about. Okay. Christopher D. Brand, a swashbuckling matchlock fantasy thriller. Like the Three Musketeers if D'Artagnan was actually John McClane. Okay. Follow Hale, a former soldier turned blade for hire on his mission to guard two priests from a relentless and deadly foe. I actually like that second sentence first. I think I probably would have had a more viscerally positive reaction from starting with follow Hale, a former soldier turned blade for hire on his mission to guard two priests from a relentless and deadly foe. And then you're describing the book, a swashbuckling matchlock fantasy thriller like the Three Musketeers if D'Artagnan was actually John McClane. Not there's not enough there without using the reference to other characters, but for some reason it's working. I think it's because his job is defending other people, because that speaks to me viscerally, which is probably why I like it so much. I'm like, okay, he's up against something that he may not be able to protect these people from. That creates a set of stakes that aren't personal. It involves you having to keep other people alive, and that's really, really difficult. So I like it, but I really wish I had a little bit more information. Maybe a little bit more about Hale himself, what kind of a man is protecting these people. But maybe that's the point of the story. So I'm going to call it a maybe. A lot of maybes in what I was saying there. Will Dowling, a monk turned thief, finds purpose in a queen's crusade. Cool. Until his quest for revenge risks the fragile kingdom he's come to call home. The Last Kingdom meets the lives of Loch Lamora and the Spring Tide, a historical adventure across conquest era Britain. So just off the reading, not counting the many pictures that he has uploaded here, a monk turned thief finds purpose in a queen's crusade. Sounds cool. And then he says, until his quest for revenge risks the fragile kingdom he's come to call home. What revenge? Like, I don't understand. Why is he seeking revenge? What's the vengeance angle? Where did it come from? You know, we can look at the pictures. You know, the cover's awesome. Very cool classical elements. Court intrigue, dangerous quest, high adventure, revenge plot, trickster hero. What does this thing? Yeah, same thing that we just read. This book was wonderful. A great time reading it. Your writing style reminded me a lot of Joe Abercrombie. Powerful descriptions, intense action scenes, strong interactions between them and characters, and lots of humor. Personal information. Is there more on the back? When the Norman conquest leaves his abbey in ruins, Olaf, a novice monk, is reduced to a life of petty crime in Yafrik, Ifrik, maybe. A robbery gone awry draws Olaf into an uprising led by England's exiled Prince Edgar and his sister Margaret, Scotland's new queen. Margaret's mission to free the English stirs Olaf's faith and his desire for vengeance, but King Malcolm opposes his wife's cause. He strong arms Olaf into spying on Margaret, forcing him to betray his conscience to protect his newfound freedom. Meanwhile, the Normans prepare an invasion to destroy Edgar's rebels, threatening to scour Scotland to the marrow. Facing the destruction of his new home, Olaf must decide where his loyalties truly lie, with the saintly queen he reveres, the merciless king who holds his fate, and the prince who promises the vengeance he craves. Well, the back matter actually explains more about the vengeance angle, which is kind of good, but it's so scattered and all over the place that I'm not getting a sense of who Olaf is and why I should care. It's all predicated on making the reader interested in the trials and tribulations of Olaf. And I don't get that from either the sales pitch or the back of the book. So I don't feel anything for it. Next up, Tony B. Imagine all your secrets were exposed to your entire contact follower list. Ew, that sucks. The revealing. Apple with a bite taken out of it and something dripping off of a cell phone. I mean, it sets up a cool premise. You know, it's an obvious question. How would you feel about that? I assume there is a character that's going to be dealing with that. It's, again, not enough for me to want to find out more. The question alone isn't enough to get me interested in reading the story, because I don't know anything else about the story, just the question. All right, starting to lose the ability to speak. Kyle Farnworth. Sorry. Kyle Farnworth. Medusa, a group of intellectuals form their own society by taking over a small town in northern Maine, but their utopian vision has consequences for themselves and their children. Rader said it was firmly in the running for my book of year and among the top books I've read in my adult life. Kirkus called it a meditation on power and control and will feature it in their May 15th edition of Kirkus Reviews magazine. Medusa or Men Entombed in Winter. I like the cover design. It's minimalist, but also still pretty compelling. I would have liked to know more about the story, maybe why I would be interested in this group of intellectuals and why their utopian vision would intrigue me enough to want to read the story. I don't care what other people think, so readers telling you stuff doesn't matter to me. Maybe it matters to other people, though, so, I can't say it's wrong to do. Again, I could care less what Kirkus does with their review magazine. That would be more of something you share with your audience and friends on a personal social media level, not so much on a sales pitch level. If we're just going off of the sales pitch, this right here is the minimum information. Like, I would expect to find this on the back of the book. You're not actually trying to sell me anything. Like, tell me why I should care. All right. I apologize if I screw up your name, bud. Kit Sun Chiat, I assume. Li Ming is a small town boy with big dreams. Is that so hard? Boom. You know who the main character is. Chasing glory and immortality, he enters the rivers and lakes armed with his ancestral swordbreaker. Why? What about rivers and lakes makes you want to take a sword into it to get glory and immortality? I don't know. But this is a world of deception and danger, filled with bloodthirsty beasts, ruthless megacorps, and secret societies. To become an immortal, Li Ming must prove himself worthy. Saga of the Swordbreaker 1, Dawn of the Broken Blade. I mean, it's good. It's got the elements. I don't understand this second sentence. Chasing glory and immortality, he enters the rivers and lakes, armed with his ancestral swordbreaker. The only thing I can guess is maybe that's a language translation thing. Potentially. I don't know. The rest of it is great, tells you exactly what's going to happen in the book, and it gives you the stakes. Either he proves himself worthy and becomes an immortal, or he doesn't. Yeah, I'm interested. Ooh, please forgive me for butchering this name. Despoina Camarito. I hope I'm saying that correctly. I apologize if I'm not. Once again, what is grief if not love that refuses to be forgotten? Aw, it's sad. It kind of hurt my soul a little bit. This is not poetry about moving on. It's about staying in the ache, in the silence, in all the spaces someone used to fill. Words turn to emptiness, silence turns to dust, loneliness turns to anger, and my little heart forgets to love. Wilted Flowers, a dark poetry collection. I like the cover design looking like a worn cover. I I assume that's how the cover was designed, to give you that kind of like it's been clenched feeling. That's pretty cool. This is on the back cover, part of Echoes in the Dark, a series of standalone dark poetry collections. I would get rid of the word standalone, because if it's part of a series, then it's not really standalone. I would just, part of Echoes in the Dark, a series of dark poetry collections. That's actually the first time anybody's like thrown a poetry book at me. And the question, it created an emotional resonance. It hit me first off. Now it's in my head. I'm thinking about it. Yeah, I'll check that out. Nice job. J.M. Goodwin, The Isles Called Strife is what epic fantasy is meant to be, inspiring, meaningful, and genuine. You'll want to read about Atlas' quest for glory and Vienn's struggle to meet Mother's expectations, not only because of the monsters they face, the unexpected evil that confronts them, or the interesting companions they travel with. You'll want to read the story because it's about real people facing real problems and learning what it takes to overcome them, just like you can. No link, no cover, no nothing. Maybe, I think he put it in the comments. There we go. I realize this isn't how everyone else writes their pitches, so I'm interested to hear your feedback. Also, I forgot a link. Cool. All right. So we won't give him a hard time about that. He meant to. Cover is cool looking. Vibrant colors. Get this big monolithic statue here, and the characters are on it, so I can vibe with that. I can imagine myself standing among them. That's nice. I'm not sold by the point to point, one-on-one way of doing this, because again, like I mentioned before, there's a fine line between confidence and arrogance. To just jump right out of the gate and say that your book is what epic fantasy is meant to be, that's arrogant. Inspiring, meaningful, and genuine, all things that I would appreciate and things that I respect. So it kind of mutes the arrogance a little bit, but it's still pretty arrogant. You'll want to read about Atlas's quest for glory, and Vienn's struggle to meet Mother's expectations, not only because of the monsters they face, the unexpected evil that confronts them, or the interesting companions they travel with. Like, this is all one big sentence right here. It's what we call a run-on sentence. Even though it's broken up into pieces, it's one whole sentence. You said you'll want to read about Atlas's quest for glory and Vienn's struggle to meet Mother's expectations, not only because of the monsters they face, the unexpected evil that confronts them, or the interesting companions they travel with. There should be a comma there. You'll want to read the story because it's about real people facing real problems and learning what it takes to overcome them, just like you can. You hear me running out of air? The cover is cool. But I'm not vibing with the arrogance. No, I currently don't want to read about Atlas's quest for glory and Vienn's struggle. Because your job is to make me want to, not just tell me I'm supposed to. That's what a sales pitch is. And if you fall off that line between confidence and arrogance, it works against you. Sorry, I like the cover, but that doesn't work as a sales pitch to me. All right. Richard Brown, or Richard R. Brown, 20th Century Ghosts meets Full Dark. No stars. Well, you're honest. So I died today. That's a sentence. I think we all did. The guy next to me in the morgue is having a rough go of it. He keeps asking questions, arguing, and even yelling. He's having trouble leaving his body. I think he's scared of what comes next. This is only one of the 14 tales and holes in the somewhere available now. That's pretty cool, actually. The honesty is nice. Trust. Builds trust right there. And then just this little part about one of the stories. It gives an example. So again, we're building trust. It's compelling enough and it's clear with its intention. Yeah, I'm in. We'll give that one a try. S. Jack, Stephen Jack. Human organs grown in chimera pigs. Ugh. A U.S. fractured by civil war, a young man on the run from the law, a rich woman trapped in a cult, a famous protagonist struggling with his role, a conspiracy that will destroy the world. Pig farm, link in my bio. Okay. We'll start from the beginning. Cringe, but compelling. Interesting. So we get a character that we can latch onto, and then we get another character that we can latch onto, and then we get a third character that we can latch onto, and then a conspiracy that will destroy the world. And the title. It's going to be a maybe. I'm not getting enough to hook me, but I'm getting just enough to give it some deeper thought. But here's the problem with the maybe. And I'm going to go right down here to this line. Don't do that. If you want to make a sale, make the sale easy. If I have to go to your page to find the link to go to your sales page, you just made 2 extra steps for me. I got enough stuff to do. I don't need the extra 2 steps. Tiago. Resende, I think. Okay. He just linked to a link that he already posted, so we'll open that up. We've had plenty of stories about ghosts. Rarely have we attempted to understand them. In the afterlife, there are legendary heroes, willing to show us what it means to stay, to bravely resolve matters unfinished, to usher in the light. Are you ready to be a ghost? Spectral Braver. So this is not the book cover. Book cover is that down there. And there appear to be quite a few of them. The dead should not linger here, a woeful plight after life. When they do, horrors abound. So if you fear their ghosts, imagine how they feel. For this reason, the exceptional few stand to defend them and our world against the darkness of the abyss, against the sorrow and despair. The source of their power is love and hope. You should have it as well. Okay. What's the hook? Is the hook, am I ready to be a ghost? No. I don't want to be a ghost. I'm not dead. But the hook could be learning about what it's like to be a ghost. The hook could be that I get to run alongside in my imagination one of these ghosts or all of these ghosts, but I don't know them. So all I've got are these pictures. So, I have to figure out if fighting game character with glasses is the guy I want to hang out with. Red ninja dude is the guy I want to hang out with. Blue kimono girl or English maid, maybe. If any of these people are characters I want to hang out with and learn stuff from and be entertained by. But your pitch doesn't tell me any of that. Like, I don't know who they are. I know what you tell me they're fighting for and what they're fighting against, but I don't know them. So I don't know if this is something that I want to enjoy. Or even want to understand. I assume, based on what you're telling me, that they're legendary heroes, but they don't look like any legendary heroes I recognize. Like, that could be Hattori Hanzo, maybe. I don't know. Yeah. I don't know. I'm not getting enough. The hook needs to be clear. Even if the story is more complicated than that, the hook needs to be clear. I'm a pretty smart guy, and I'll be honest, most people are not. So you're gonna need to catch them by the nose. W.C. Collier. Melody is quiet, thoughtful, nerdy, a little overweight, a little introverted, a master student in computer science and a game. Okay. Wow. Just come right out there and tell me all the things about this character. Why do I need to know that she's a little overweight? She absolutely is not ready to uncover a global apocalyptic conspiracy which will drag her into a war for survival in the very soul of her planet and force her to evolve into something new, something ruthless, someone even she finds frightening. A hardcore military techno thriller, a sweeping science fiction adventure, romance, and a philosophical tour de force as well. Outsiders, Volume 1 and Volume 2. I mean, he took it and did exactly what you needed to. Melody is all of those things. And through the story, she's evolving into something else. Maybe something that she doesn't like. But it's not like, what is the hook? Is it the hook that I get to follow Melody around as she gets turned into somebody mean? And you tell me it's a military techno thriller to uncover a apocalyptic conspiracy. But like, what are the stakes other than she becomes something else? Obviously the stake would be the world ends. It's a bit disjointed, and I don't feel that compelling sensation. Like, fish out of water, I could get, but all of these things really don't. There's a certain suspension of belief. All right, I'll be flat honest. It's hard to imagine that. And weird side tangent, I've see it in modern shows because I was just watching a recent TV series that was put out by Amazon, and I was in my head, I'm going, I can't see this character doing this stuff without running out of breath, hyperventilating on the sidewalk, and potentially dying of a heart attack because they're not fit for the type of actions that they're doing physically. And that's born of the fact that I'm a little overweight, and I know how I get gassed after I've run around for a while. So hearing all of these things about this particular character and then contrasting it with, this what feels like a big rushy Tom Cruise style Mission Impossible sort of event, it's just not jiving for me. R.W. Foster. Hope this isn't too long. Oh, please. I'm afraid to click show more, but I'm going to do it anyway. Oh, it's not bad. 14-year-old physics prodigy Carter Blake dreamed of winning a Nobel Prize until the big bad from his TTRPG appeared in his bedroom and I think you meant dragged, him into the realm of Battlehammer. Blinded by a battle between the celestial and apocalyptic, he now must rescue a princess with the aid of a half-dragon warrior and a half-elf mage. A lot of halves in there. He discovers he's able to see into the future by a few seconds and is rumored to be the mysterious Walker of Worlds. A more pressing matter is, can he stop the war his game avatar started? And it's not bad. Gives you good clarity of what the character is, what the story is going to be like, and it gets a little into the weeds in the middle here. Like, blinded, does that mean that he can't see throughout the rest of the story? So if he's blind physically, but he's able to see into the future, and he's got to like tell people all the details because he can't see where they are. Like if he sees 3 seconds in the future, if he can't physically see the room he's in and somebody like knocks over a vase, then he sees the vase falling down and he's just going to be like, somebody's going to knock over a vase. I don't know who because I can't see them, and I can't give you a reference because I can't physically see who you are. So I can't tell if it was you or not. I'm getting hung up on the nerd side of it. My apologies. But anyways, this is a solid synopsis, a base pitch that works very well. It sets up a bunch of fun, weird questions, but it's literally engineered towards people who like RPGs and fantasy stories. So he knows his audience, and this is what he's pitching to. So I think this is good. It's not something I'm interested in reading, but I totally see his intention, and I gotta praise it. Did a really good job with that. Ryan K says the stairwell never ends. Thanks, dude. All right. Danielle's art and short stories. Rain lives her life how she normally would. Thanks. That tells me nothing. That is until she starts to hear strange things happening. Why are things disappearing? Who does the familiar voice belong? What familiar voice? And is she actually where she thinks she is? This is an example of attempting to be mysterious and just not giving enough to make anyone interested. If you're going to be mysterious, you need strong hooks. Like, I don't care about Rain. Make me care about Rain, and then I'll be interested on whether or not she's going crazy or not. Midnight Rose artist. A promise grows in the love that will risk anything. Ryder thought his only purpose was to live and die for magic's freedom until he meets a helpless baby dragon for whom he breaks the vows of his heart. A bittersweet novella set in the wilderness. I mean, it's not bad. This is a maybe, and it's only a maybe because there's enough there to tell me what the story is, and I'm intrigued by the concept. It's got a little bit of Call of the Wild speaking to me, but in a fantasy setting, and that's pretty cool. I would have liked a bit stronger information, a little bit more detail, maybe specifically about Ryder, because when you do main character centered stories like that, your selling point is your main character. Hear me. Your selling point is your main character. Let the audience know who the main character is. The writer thought his only purpose was to live and die for magic's freedom. Cool. I kind of get that. That means he's got kind of a singular mindset, and now he's learning that there's more to life through this Baby Dragon. And gotta say, Baby Dragon is an awesome hook. I've used cute pet animal type characters as hooks for stories before, and I love them. So this is a maybe, only because there's not enough detail really to hook me into writer and compel me, rather than just, hey, I'm like, I want to feel that come here sensation from a sales pitch. All right. We got a joke comment from King Stanky. I'm going to read it because it's funny. Valkyrie meets truck. A guy gets hit with a truck. The world blows up. Thanks, Stanky. Appreciate it. And a couple of folks saying really good idea. That is the end of our list. So if you want to take something from this to help perfect your ability to pitch your sales in social media, your first and most important thing, if you have a main character driven story, is tell potential readers about your main character. Give details. You want things that they can connect with. Oh, I do that. He's like me. She's like me. I do that too. These things all happen in our heads, whether we're not speaking them or not. You meet that person and, you're in your game store, if you're a nerd like I am, and you're checking stuff out, and you see in the corner the old tabletop RPG section, and there's somebody over there who's looking at like the second edition of Vampire the Masquerade, and I go, I used to love playing that game. Now I kind of want to be that person's friend. That's what you need to be doing with your sales. You make them connect with your character, because then they're invested in what happens to the character, and then they want to experience the story that character gets into. And if you kill that character, they will be extremely upset with you, which is a bonus, in my opinion. All right. So we have in our silence phone, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Yeah, 7. I have 7 books to read and 7 reviews to do. So I'm going to go get started on that before I run out of time and everybody forgets about this post. Thank you for watching, and hope you got something good out of it. If you feel like it, it's going to be on YouTube. It's going to be posted on X. Feel free to leave a comment, give me some feedback. Tell me I'm full of crap if you want. We can argue about it at your leisure. I am the Iron Sage, Daniel P. Riley, and I'll see you guys later. Time to read some books. Woo!